July 5th, 2003. We're heading over to Jeezy's house. Mom bought a new tape recorder and we're going to interview her and Uncle Louie about genealogy. Haha.
We're going to record some stories. Now, you came out, Uncle Louie, you were already out here to California then, in 34.
He went back home, though.
I came out in 34.
You came here in
February
34?
34.
And then you went back to Joplin? And
Three times.
3 times?
He went back to Anderson, Missouri.
Okay.
That's where Mother lived. Oh, that was the most beautiful place. Huh?
Anderson was?
Oh.
I thought it was just in Anderson County.
My dad died in 1940 or 33.
Hold your head up and talk, because you're trying to get this.
Well, hell, now don't tell me what to do.
It's fine. He can live here.
Go give me some watermelon.
Yeah. But he didn't realize how low his voice gets.
That's okay.
And I get all shook up. And he died in 33. And I was working in a canning factory down 6 blocks from where we lived. Every morning I worked all day long for nothing to get the job for 2 weeks.
Just so you can get the job there?
Just to get the job.
Oh my goodness. And this is in Anderson you're talking about.
Yeah, in Anderson. And I had done shows with this gal, and her dad owned the business, you know.
He always did shows. Any place they'd let him
And
act.
at the end of the second week, Ruth came out. She said, that was the girl's name. And she said, Larry, she said, when you get through tonight, she said, come in and sign the payroll. She said, I can't stand to see you work any longer for nothing.
Good for her. Good for her.
10 cents an hour, 16 hours, $1.60. And I worked 2 weeks for nothing to get the job.
Wow. And what kind of work was it?
In a canning factory.
Working in the canning factory?
I was weighing beans and tomatoes and stuff like that. Yeah.
And that wasn't even during the Depression. This was...
Mm-hmm.
was during the
Oh,
Depression.
honey, that depression.
Well, because the Depression started in 29, didn't it? With the
yeah,
stock
that's when the
market.
big
And this we're talking about in 33, 34.
See, what a nice marriage I had. I was married in 30, right at the beginning of the Depression. Earl was killed just getting out of the Depression when he was killed.
Yeah.
But it was still the happiest time of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honey, are you through? Go ahead, June, and tell if you're getting something else. I was going to tell them how the family just after Daddy died. What they
And
wanted.
he died when in 40?
Daddy died in 30.
September 30.
Oh, in 33. So my dad was only not even a year older. My dad a year
he was
older.
born in August. Yeah, he was walking.
Yeah, he was a year.
He was a year old in August, and Daddy died in September. But Daddy was on. We had a bed put in the living room so everybody could have the last.
Was he sick?
Oh, was he sick? Yeah. I mean, he worked in the mine.
Oh, he had the two.
All our family nearly worked in. The lead and zinc was discovered on the mall.
Charles Lewis Small, I think I saw.
That was my grandfather.
I think that there was an article in the Galena, one of the Galena
Oh
Pioneer
yeah,
days
there's a lot
about
in the
him.
Kansas history, quite a bit about the malls.
Yeah.
But they were building putting on a diving board at the creek, and they did digging it to put the spring in, put it where you stand, and they found this ore, took it to the house, and
Oh, that's how good. The two boys. I remember seeing that. Okay.
Uncle Jack, my Uncle
Was
Jack.
that who that was? Was Uncle Jack? Because I was reading in the
Not that Bill was Uncle Jack.
No, John.
John,
Hall,
yeah, that
you
was
guys
his
called
name.
Jack. Was
Bill
it John?
was his twin. The only girl in the Mall family was, well, no, there was 2 little girls they lost, I guess. But
Now, these are Charles kids that you're
Charles
talking about?
Lewis,
His
Charles Lewis Mall and Nancy Case Fair.
Right. Those are their kids that you're talking about.
they're-
Because I remember they're the ones, are they the ones that were born in Baden?
Germany.
In Germany?
No, I don't think so. I think that was Egidius and his wife. That's my great-grandfather.
Egidius, I remember that.
Egidius.
I did a family tree for my school project. And
Oh,
I did, it's a really good one. I have.
He
Yeah,
did a
but
good
good.
job. Yeah. That's what got us started on the genealogy.
Right.
And now he wishes I'd never gotten started probably. Well, what I was trying to figure out, because it seems like that I was looking at one of the census, like an was it 1900 census, or maybe it was earlier, maybe it was in 1880. Anyway, there was a
Oh,
family.
it wasn't the 1900. Well, it could be, of course, the 1900s. You could
I
look that,
can't
but they was all
remember.
born in the 1800s.
There was a family that, and I thought it was Charles, and it
Charles
showed that
Lewis.
he was born in whatever state they're living in. It might have been Missouri, but that his
I think
parents.
he was born up around St. Louis.
Olathe, Kansas. My dad.
Olathe,
that-
Kansas.
That's where my dad was born.
Okay, and his dad, I think, is who we're talking about. Anyway, whomever it was, I think it was Charles Lewis Malt. I think he was born in the state that the census was done in, but his parents were born in Baden, Germany.
Yeah.
But he had a brother-in-law living with him who was only like 22 years old that was born in Baden.
What was his name, you know?
That's the one you thought was Uncle Jack.
No, Uncle Jack and Bill. I knew them
No,
real
they
well.
were not. That wouldn't have been his brother-in-law then.
No, it wasn't
Uncle
his-
Jack.
I don't know.
No,
his
you're
brother.
right.
I probably don't. Uncle Jack was his son.
I'd have to get my book out and look and see who it was.
I'm ready for
that. Would you please? Would you? Let me go take these dishes to the sink while you do that. So Uncle Jack that you're talking about is your dad's brother,
Dad's brother, the oldest brother. It was Jack and Bill.
Bell.
They were twins.
Where's that?
I think I took it in the living room, honey.
Listen, guys, there's ice cream here and
All right,
cookies.
that's fine.
And when you want some, you tell me. Okay, just like use the phone.
You just tell me what to say.
Freezer, honey.
Where do you want this?
Oh, go set it next to Grandma now.
Here.
See what I can
It's
find.
heavy.
Did you want
Thank
some,
you.
You want some ice cream or something?
No,
too?
I don't. No. I'm going to have to use some watermelon pretty soon, but I don't want any right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. But this, if you do want anything, we have. Help me. Help me.
See it, just go open the door.
Yeah, just go get it. Ice cream's in the refrigerator.
It's cherry cheese. Yes. You want anything with that?
That one.
Excuse me.
What on? Anything you want. The kind you want. Get you a bowl up here, honey, on the shelf over. No, I think down a little bit on the shelf down towards the sink. Let Grandma come get you a bowl.
Where?
Is there one right in there where you're looking? Or is there?
Okay, who's William H. Mall?
I don't know that William.
Hank.
It could be.
Who's
Henry was his middle. That was the name we knew about and called him
What?
Uncle.
Was his wife's name Emma?
No.
No.
I think Dad had an Aunt Emma. I heard it you talk about. Did you find it, darling?
Everybody's spoons here.
Oh,
I got the wrong.
there's one on the end. Over here, you're right place. Here's a piece. Aha, I find it.
William H. That could be Uncle Hank.
Look. But his wife's name was Edna. She was a Jew.
I have a Lewis Mall. That not this one, not Uncle Louis, because this one was in the 1920 census. He was 75 years old, so he would have been born. That would have been 55 then.
18.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did I do that right or the other way?
Yeah.
And he was born in Missouri, but his parents were born in Baden, Germany.
Well, I would say that probably that was Dad's uncle, but I don't know.
I was trying to figure out who these people were. I was going to ask you, Grandma. I ran across Virgil's name in the
Virgil.
832.
David Virgil.
Yeah, Uncle Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And it said that he had the Purple Heart. And Dad remembered you having the Purple
Oh,
Heart.
I did have a
ring.
Purple Heart. Somebody stole it.
Somebody stole
It
it?
was up in our living room.
On Kingsley? It
Mhm.
got stolen? Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, he wasn't a Purple Heart.
Yeah, I was asking Dad about it. Oh, here we go.
I think he got it for that. It was in a terrible. You know, he was the navigator on the plane,
On 24.
Yeah,
and he
there's.
got it through a terrible storm.
Dad said that he talked to a lady who had done some research on that whole incident, and she sent him a CD. But he was angry. He's still angry about
I
that.
talked to a kid that came back. There was one of the group that was on the plane.
That one of them came back.
There was 11 on the plane.
Oh, where Pete went down, yeah. The
Yeah.
three of them came home, and every one of them came to see us.
Oh.
They were held in the prison in Germany first. Now go ahead, Louis, you tell the story.
This would be their brother.
Oh, it's on an airplane?
Yeah. World War II is in
Yeah,
some
the World War
action.
II.
Oh.
He was the one that was the bomber.
Okay.
Who was the bomber?
He was on a
That's
he was on a
Oh,
bomber.
he was on a bomber.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, they'd been bombing Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
Mhm.
Because it's old.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
There's two other boxes in there. Just help yourself and eat all the ice cream you want. You want some whipped cream on it?
No,
This whipped cream, yeah. Cookies or anything with it? We got lots of cookies.
I found who I was looking at. Charles L. Mall. Now this is the 18.
That's my uncle, my grandfather.
Okay, this is the 1880 census. He was 27 years old, so that puts him born about 1853 or so. He was married to Nancy Casebeer. She was 25, but then they have, in 1880, they had 3 kids, Irene, John, and Miles.
John was Uncle Jack.
Yeah,
Then there was another
but Belle,
John.
Irene, Belle. I bet you it's my
Irene Bell, yes it
Yeah.
is. Okay, that was Aunt Bell that you were talking about.
They always called her Belle. And Belle and Uncle Jack, they were twins.
Okay, because they were both 2 years old in this, so they were the twins.
They were twins.
And that was Uncle
And I
Matt's
think the
Uncle
next
Jack.
child is a Gideon.
It's Miles E, and I had down Egidius M, so it's Miles Egidius, or Egidius Miles. So that's who, I wondered about that
But
too.
he died when he was about 8 years old, I think. Dad always talked a lot about his brother.
Okay, because he was only 6 months old during this census, because it was in 1880. So he died young. But what I was going to ask,
He died at first, didn't he?
no, he was 6 months old in this.
Oh, Noah Giddis lived to be kind of old. He must have been older than I thought when he died because Daddy remembered him so well. And Daddy was just 6 years old when his mother died.
Oh, when Nancy Casebeer died. But there's another John, there's 2 John Malls. One was his brother, one was your dad's brother, and one was your dad's uncle. It was Charles' brother. Now this is the one that surprised me, because Charles was 27 years old. His brother John was only 22 years old.
I don't ever remember hearing a thing about him.
Charles was born in Missouri, and his parents were born in Baden, Germany, but John, 5 years younger than him, was born in Baden, Germany. And I was trying to figure out how, did they come here
I
and
never
then
heard
go
of him,
back
honey.
there?
They settled, most of them did around St. Louis when they first came.
Yeah, I had down that he was born in St. Louis, you're right, that Charles was born
They
in
went
St.
back to
Louis.
visit somebody and it was born while they were over there.
I just couldn't figure out how.
I had never heard of the man at first, I don't think at all.
Well, he was working on the farm with them, because your grandpa had the farm, Charles had the farm, and then it shows his brother, John, was a farm laborer there on the, living with them.
But after they discovered that, the Malls were very wealthy for a long
Yeah.
time there. Nearly all of Galena used to belong to the Malls.
And Anderson too, didn't you tell me?
No, Anderson, no, we just rented down to Anderson.
Who was it that discovered the ore? Was it your Uncle Jack?
Uncle
Did you say-
Jack.
Which is the John, the twin?
Mhm, John. mhm.
And did you say Belle died young, or not?
But,
Belle, did she die young?
no, oh no.
Okay.
Oh, why?
Okay, I just,
I can't remember when I died. She didn't die young, honey.
Whoops. Where'd that lead go?
Her middle name was, I guess,
Irene Bell.
Irene
Yeah.
Bell. I would named Irene after her.
I thought so. I kind of that's where it came from. And what were they doing? They were, you said
Digging
they were
for, trying to put a diving board. You know, you had to dig down and discovered ore. Must not been very deep. But,
Discovered
Yeah.
who?
huh?
Discovered who?
Ore, lead and zinc mines, and that was worth $1 million.
Oh.
That's just a lot of money.
Oh, so they got rich because they were building.
Yeah, my grandfather.
And they were just kids when they found it. Weren't they like teenagers?
Yeah, oh,
like
yeah.
12, 13
Yeah,
years old or
something like
something
that.
like that. And they found it. It was written up in a book that I was reading about Galena, Kansas. And it was talking about
Mhm.
that these 2 boys, and one was a mall, and I can't remember what the other one's name was, that they found this when they were doing something, and they went and told their family, and that's how they became
Which?
rich.
They didn't last very long. No, I didn't get any of it.
Oh, you got gypped out of it.
No, I got a wonderful
Yes.
dad out of it. Boy, we loved our dad.
So who was Uncle Hank, I wonder?
Under who?
Who was Uncle Hank then? Henry. I think that was.
Henry was his name. That was Dad's younger brother.
Okay. So that would be David's younger brother.
Who's
David. No, your dad is.
David?
Yeah, David. Yeah.
Daddy, and he's just 2 years younger than Daddy. So he was 4 when his mother died.
That's so young. You know,
Honey, they had all that money, and my grandmother never had to work or anything. But the doctor told her she had another day. She'd had 8. If they ever had another one, she would die. And she did. How stupid people were. And she left Peach with Martin.
That's who Uncle Peach was Martin Arthur? Or
Martin Arthur.
Okay, I remember that name.
He was a baby.
Okay, they are
He
right
was
here.
about 2. Okay, you got it on there?
I got them all on here.
Oh, well, great. You're wonderful.
Henry Edward is the one you
Then
said.
he was just older. Yeah, Uncle Hank was just older than Uncle Peach. And then there was Daddy. There was 6 when his mother died. They was 2, 4, and 6, I think. Those 3. And then there was the Sigidius, and somewhere in there they lost a little girl named Barbara.
Barbara, yeah, I have her on here, but I don't have when she was born.
Daddy didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
However, she's buried in Galena, Kansas on the family lot. At the, if you want to know that. Have you ever been to their, you never went back to Missouri?
I did one time, when we went back and saw when David was born back in Kentucky, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah,
We were there.
He was with us. We went there.
Yeah,
Well, I was there.
That was
That's
wonderful.
my great Aegidius and his wife, and Charles Lewis and his wife, and then this little girl, Barbara, was in there somewhere. And the son, Aegidius,
Oh, Grandma.
and my daddy.
I found a picture of it.
Oh,
Would you like some more water?
Starting to be a little scared there.
You want coffee?
I did. Jamie, did you want some coffee?
No, thank you.
Yeah, this is honey, this is an interesting place. All those people your mother's talking about.
Then this
Yeah.
one right here
And
says
that's
mall.
the only one whose headstone I know because it says Charles L. Mall. But so I don't know. I know.
Well, they're there. Well, that's my grandpa's grave.
Look at. I do have that picture of my dad when he was really little. Those 2 pictures.
And
When
Uncle
he's young,
Peach
I
is
mean.
on here. My daddy is on this lawn. Daddy and Uncle Peach and this little Barbara and Aegidius, and then their fathers and mother and grandfather and grandmother.
Uncle Peach was Arthur.
Yeah, Martin was.
Arthur Martin or Martin Arthur. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
So
right.
everybody called him Peach, and he was a peach. I loved him.
How did he get that nickname?
I don't know.
No idea.
I'd have no idea.
Probably one of his girlfriends, too.
To be.
I've heard those mall guys were very
They're kind of like
lucky
the
with the
women.
ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to do well with the ladies. Very charming, from what I
But
hear.
I just think it's nice to know who's on there.
Yeah, so in this family plot, we know that you said Uncle Peach was in there, and you said that your dad is in there, David
Mhm.
O'Dine Mall.
Last time I was back there, I ordered this. Uncle Peach didn't have a stone.
Oh.
So I ordered a stone and paid for it, but I never did know whether they got it in or not because I had to come back home. I hope they did. I think someone told me they saw it. But
Now this is in Galena, Kansas.
Galena, Kansas, on West
Okay.
7th Street.
Because that's one of the, on 7th Street?
West 7th.
Because that's one of the things I wanted to do is to get a hold of them and get a list of the plots, who was in what plot,
Oh.
so that I would,
That cemetery is full of our relatives.
that's what
But
I
the
remember.
Loves, too, are there a lot of them.
Now, back to how you guys came here to California. I know that you got here in 34, and then you went back to Missouri. How did you guys get here, Grandma?
Well, Mother came out after Daddy died, and she stayed, I think this one summer. She didn't stay long, but Pete wanted to go home. And he was the best guy in the world, but he was so determined, and he helped Mother so much that she went back to Missouri. But in 35, Grandma was real sick out here. Oh gosh, honey, You want to know tales? I'll tell you. I can tell you a
We
lot.
got a lot of tape.
Yeah.
Everybody has tails.
But
We love 'em.
you know, when in '33, we went to Phoenix. That's where Mother and Daddy was always trying to get away. The mines kill if anybody that works in them. I want you to know. And that's what killed my dad. But he tried to get out of the mines and get out of the mines. So what is this would make a book.
Okay. Better get it closer. Make sure it's all on tape.
I went down to Anderson one day. That was just 36 miles. We went down there nearly every week. My dad and Daddy had bought a new Hudson. Daddy never drove, but there was a new car out there. And I said, of course, I wanted to say, whose car is that? I just bought it, he said. And Louis, you can tell this better than I can because you drove the car. And he said, we're going to go to Arizona this Saturday. And they was living, and it was great in Anderson where they lived. But oh my gosh, I didn't want to go to Arizona and leave me. And it was hard to convince Earl that I wanted to go, that we wanted to go. So before we left, we decided to go before we went back to Joplin. On the way to Joplin, on the way to my house in Joplin, we stopped by to see Grandma and Aunt Wilma. They lived together, and Helen and Betty. And so they wanted to come out. Aunt Bill and Uncle Jack was already here, and Edna was in Phoenix. With
And
Jim.
you say Grandma, you're talking about Grandma Love. Your mom's mom. Okay.
Yeah, this is Grandma Rose. But so just a few weeks, Daddy called me. Earl and I had a pretty nice little car, and said that if there was a family there that wanted to go ride out with us if we were coming, and there was, and they had a young son, so there was three of them. So, and Grandma had Edna's car complication, but this our family was always close. Had left her Chrysler there. At Grandma's. And so they got them. Anyhow, we all decided to go to Phoenix together. We had 3 carloads. Daddy's, Earl's, and Grandma's. They got a young man to drive theirs. Took us 17 days. We had everything that could happen to get to Phoenix. Not wrecks, but car trouble, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Grandma got real sick. And there was 3 cars, and Earl and Daddy wouldn't get outside of each other.
Daddy couldn't drive.
Oh, you did all the driving.
Did you drive out during that time?
Louis
Yeah?
did.
Okay, so he drove out. Okay.
Yeah, he drove. He did all the
Well,
driving.
who was in the cars?
Huh?
So-
Well, in my car was Earl and I and your dad,
Mhm.
and the other family then finally went with us. And Aunt Wilma's car was, Aunt Wilma and Grandma and Helen and Betty and the boy that they got to drive them out. And then in Daddy's car was Mom and Dad and all 5 of my brothers.
Oh, all of them.
But all
Okay.
5 of our brothers was there, Louis. All 5 of you boys was in that car, wasn't you? There's a heck of a lot of us.
Wow.
And we had a lot.
Good thing the cars were big back then, huh?
They were big. Daddy's car was lovely, honey. He had a folding seats. Did you ever see those?
I don't think so.
There was a large car, and between the back seat and the front seat was folding seats that came up.
Oh.
And Pete and George rode in those most of the
Were
time.
they the youngest ones? Those 2?
No, Glenn was the youngest, and he probably rode on Mother's lap most
Oh,
of the time.
right,
He's
right.
5 or 6 years. But anyhow, we had
Okay.
trouble, and it took 17 days to get out here. But Aunt Wilma and Grandma left us a note finally. They got ahead of us. At a filling station, we got that they were going on because we'd been having quite a bit of trouble. And they went on to Phoenix, but they went from Phoenix. They went right on to California.
Oh.
And that's how the whole bunch started in California, and Bill was already out here. And so the 2 cars, Dad and Earl went and left each other for a minute. They both just worshipped each other.
Did they?
It was his father-in-law, but Earl's dad had died, and he cried all the way. When Daddy died, Earl drove the car down to Glen, and it was where we buried him when he died in Anderson. Earl, I think, cried all the way up there. He was trying to drive it. He cared almost Louis. That was the only dad he'd ever known, was mine. But anyhow, we were together. And they went on, but they came. But you don't want all this, but
No, yeah, it's fine.
so we stayed 5 months in Phoenix. there was a family that we knew back home that told Dad, go see about that. I've had their grandfather had left a house in Galena and Phoenix. Did you go see if there's we haven't had any herd, know what's going on. They thought it was out on a farm. It was right next to a great big Safeway grocery store in a very busy street.
Wow,
And that house, it was nice, pretty nice little house. And we said, you can live in there if you want to, if it's livable. So we lived in, that's where we stayed all the
For
time.
5 months. Oh, that's nice.
And in 5 months, Daddy wasn't getting better, and he wanted to go home to die.
So he went,
So we went back to Anderson and Joplin, right back to Joplin. Your
so
dad.
I'm confused. Did you go from Phoenix to California, or did you go from Phoenix back to Missouri?
We went, Wilma and Grandma and then went to California.
Okay.
We went back to Missouri.
Okay. So both those carloads went back to Missouri.
Well, we all went back
Yeah.
in the Hudson.
Oh, okay.
Earl, I don't know. We all went. We survived.
All the brothers too?
All the brothers. It was, let's see, of course, there was always 8 in our family, and then the girl, it was 10 of us went back in that car. Of course, David, your dad was just a baby.
How fast did the car go?
Huh?
How fast could the car go?
Pretty good, I think. Louis and Earl drove it all the time, so ask him. How'd the Hudson drive, Louis? Did it go fast?
Uncle Louie. Oh, you can hear me over the water. Uncle Louie,
Huh?
how fast did the Hudson drive when you came out here?
Oh, we probably drive around 50 miles an hour.
50 miles an hour?
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm. Going home, you did the same thing, didn't you? Probably just about.
Beautiful old car.
We didn't have any trouble going it. That was a beautiful little car. It was gorgeous looking. But
So then you guys came back to Missouri, stayed there,
we stayed.
and your dad passed away, because he passed away just the next year, that
He
year.
passed away the next year.
It was
Yeah.
a Hudson Super 8,
Super 8?
and it was a beautiful old car. It was all aluminum body. And we had flat tires.
And it was was it brand new?
No, it wasn't a brand new car.
No, that was a 29, I think.
29. And we're talking about in like 1933, you guys
Mhm.
were doing 34.
Well,
I can't
it was
remember.
November 33, we went to Phoenix.
November 33.
And we had some experiences.
We sure did. We will tell you all those experiences. But someday I'll
So
tell you.
now you're back?
We got almost 8 miles from home, but we had a flat tire.
Oh my goodness. That was
Yeah,
the
we're
beginning.
back, but then Daddy died in September the 17th. And the next spring, Mother came out here to California. And
But, Victoria,
Yeah.
we had bedding on top of the car,
Bedding on top of the car? A mattress, uh-huh.
on top. And we had the thing loaded with fruit, with canned fruit. And
that was when we started.
Hand loaded with fruit?
Honey, my mother had put up blackberries were so beautiful back
I
then.
mean, in
Oh.
Texas,
But we had to sell part of it because it's loading the car down.
40 quarts of canned food.
That canned food that your mom brought with you?
And I think we sold it for 25 cents.
I think you did too.
In Texas, you said, is where you stopped and started selling it?
I don't remember where, but I remember they
It was
stopped.
in Beaumont, no, Beaumont.
It was too heavy for the car. It was just a
Well, and you guys had a full load, people too.
Oh, yeah. Well, there'd been 8 of them at that time. I see.
I don't
No,
know.
there's 7 of them in that car going out there.
Then, when your mom came back out to California,
Well, then she just stayed
who
at
did she go with? How did she get here?
We slept on the ground, on top of the car.
You guys slept on top of the car in the mattress on the way out here?
Wait,
That sounds like fun.
Oh, you can find it.
Don't roll over.
Honey, how did Mama get out there? How did Mama get out here?
Because you guys moved out here in 35.
Well, I moved out here.
And your mom was here the year
No,
before.
she was here. She went here, came out here. Right, Daddy died in 33, and the next spring,
So 34,
in 34,
Grandma moved out here.
She came out here.
It must have been when Uncle Louie came
But
out.
Uncle Louis was already here, but they passed on. He didn't know she was coming out. Isn't that right, Louis?
What?
When Mama first came out here, how the heck who'd she come out with?
Who did I come out with?
No, did Mama when she came out? When you was out here, and I think you passed her on the way home. You was going home when she drove out, but Mom and the boys came out. Who in the heck were they with? Do you
No, I
remember?
wasn't on the way home.
Well, you didn't,
I don't really say it like that.
but,
Well, one of the boys must have driven her then. No? Were they too young?
honey, I can't
What was the
remember.
driving age?
Honey, there was no limit in California. I mean, in Missouri, you could just drive. If you could drive, you could drive. And
Well,
you
because
didn't have
Uncle
to-
Mac would have been,
He would have been the next one to
34.
drive. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mac was born in
1934, he
Mac
would have
was
been
born
15.
1915, so he'd have been about 19.
19 years old, yeah.
But I can't. How on earth it must have been somebody else coming
You
out. the
guys,
front.
you Malls moved together a
Always,
lot. I
we
mean, you
were-
guys always stayed together. I noticed that in the pictures that I saw at Debbie's too, is that, you know, all the brothers and you guys were always all together.
Oh yeah, until
Yeah.
the first time we were. Well, we just always stayed together.
Yeah.
Oh, I just had 5 brothers, and I
I
had to
know.
be good. I had to take care of all of them. But yeah, we did, honey. But nice living room, dining room, kitchen, bath, and everything, and that beautiful yard for $7 a month
And where was this at?
in Joplin.
Oh, back in Joplin.
After
Yeah.
we went back
They
there,
want some more food.
and
We're good, thank you.
but they didn't stay there. Earl was the only time I ever knew him get mad at Mother. She didn't stay there. It's because it was hard for us to rent another house, you know, and give them everything. But Pete wanted to go to Anderson to graduate, so they went to Anderson.
Because he was still in school.
He was the one who graduated from out there. Then that was 34. And then in 35, Grandma was sick, about to die. Aunt Edna was called to contact us that time. And, they sent us a check, I don't know for how much, but it wasn't too much, to help us get out here. And so Mother and me and David, of course, your dad.
Yeah.
And Aunt Pearl, not Aunt Pearl, Aunt Pearl came with, and Lynn Matson, who was Aunt Pearl's son-in-law,
Okay.
and Opal owned a little coop with a rumble seat.
Seat, okay.
We all came out here to Grandma's. That took us 5 days because we just kept going. They said Grandma was dying, and she was. So we got to Los Angeles. There were Bill and Jack and Ed and Aunt Wilma and all were almost living together.
Mm-hmm.
And not Bill and Uncle Jack had rooms across the street, I think, or something. And Aunt Pearl and Opal and Lynn went back. They were the Mormons. They wanted to go through Utah, Salt Lake City, before Grandma died, but Mother and I didn't want to leave Grandma.
Yeah.
And we stayed. And Grandma died the 15th of July, 1935,
Oh, that makes
out
sense.
here. She's buried in Forest Lawn,
Oh.
if you want to know. And then Bill and Jack said if we stayed, then they'll take us home, which they did, Mother and I. And I liked it so well out here. And things were better much than then. There was just no money back there at all. But we lived fairly good, like I said. And, I was home. Earl had sold all our furniture. Well, the day Grandma died, I got a telegram. I sold you out and I'm coming to you. So I sent a telegram back. We didn't have telephone. We had
Yeah.
telephones, but we didn't use them much any. And I said, Grandma just died. I'm coming home. Stay there. I remember the 2 telegrams ago. So he did. But then just a few days after the funeral, Mother and all of us went there. And I think I stayed back there 3 weeks.
That was it?
And that's what Aunt Bill and Uncle Jack was going to be there. And I talked Earl into coming back, and we came back. And
This time you went all the way to California?
That was made it up in August. Well, yeah, your dad had his 3rd birthday. And as we were on the way out here, New Mexico. What's the big town in New Mexico?
Gallup?
No, another one.
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque.
Thank you, honey.
Albuquerque, New Mexico. We had on your dad's 3rd birthday.
Okay, because I have a picture of, I took a photograph of Dad's 2nd birthday on Jackson Street in Joplin. So I knew you guys were back there for that. Okay.
So, yeah. Well, that was where we were living.
Well, where was Uncle Rick born at? Was he born
in Los Angeles.
Oh, he was born out here in Los Angeles. Okay.
Over on 11th Street. Do you know where the big stadium is now?
Dodger Stadium? What stadium?
Yeah,
What's the
not
stadium?
that big, Louis, what's the big stadium downtown in Los Angeles now? That's where your dad was born. It's a memorial to him. And I mean, to your Uncle Rick, I tell him, they built it right there on 11th in Georgia where the...
A big stadium on
it's a
11th
great
in Georgia
big one.
downtown?
I've never been in it. I've seen it, but I've never been in it.
Staples Center?
Staples.
Is that it?
Staples Center.
No.
Oh, where the hell?
I don't know.
But,
Staples is down by the Coliseum.
well, that's what it is. It's not as far out as south as the Coliseum. The Coliseum is around 30th or 34th, around Santa Barbara. And the Staples is down around Pico and 11th Street in there.
Yeah.
And Rick was born on 11th Street.
Right there.
But
Right.
they just built
Just off the...
Staples is only like 3 years old.
Yeah,
the
it's-
one that they used to was the Forum.
The Forum. Is that what you were thinking of before? The Staples, it was the Forum.
Or it could be the
Wasn't the
sports.
same, honey, the Staples I
The
thought was a
Forum.
brand new.
Yeah, it
The
is.
Forum was in Inglewood.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah.
The sports arena.
The sports arena was there. It took over 11th and 12th Street.
That's
and-
what you're thinking
and
of.
from-
The
I
Staples.
think from Georgia,
Yeah, Georgia. We was born right on 11th and Georgia on this one, right off of Georgia.
yeah.
Where Rick was born.
And I think it was from Georgia to, can't remember the other street. And I lived on the damn thing. But anyhow,
That was the Sports Center.
so you know where the 11th Street was around right there? Yeah. That's where the sports center gone in.
Okay.
Between Olympic and, I think it was between Olympic and 12th. Or Olympic and 6th.
Oh.
It didn't run all the way to Pico.
Okay. That's what it is, the Sports Center.
It's right in there, honey.
So that's how you guys came out here. Okay.
Have you been down there?
We've been down there. I know we got salt
Honey, I
all
think
over
it's
the
awful
table.
sweet. Have you got
I
good
know,
dishes?
these
I sure
people just did
appreciate it.
everything.
Well, George, you got yours to take care of.
Now, what do you remember about growing up? Like, you guys grew up in, where did you guys actually grow up in?
Well,
In Galena?
no. Mother and Dad were both born, I'm not born, but were raised in Galena, but no, we weren't. I was born in South Dakota.
Yeah, how does South Dakota come in there?
Okay.
Because it's like, that's the only thing I see is you being in South Dakota during that period of time, but I can't
Well,
link
I
it to
tell you
anything.
what, the big mining company had mines. They had mines in Oklahoma. Had mines in
Gold
that-
mining.
Gold, that was gold mines in South
Oh,
Dakota.
Black Hills Gold.
That was gold.
Yeah, the Black Hills.
Okay.
And so they went on strike in South Dakota, and they came out and got a lot of the miners there in Oklahoma, and sent them back. Well, Mother and Daddy had been going together about 4 years, but his dad was sick, and Mother had helping her mother raise her kids, and they were busy. So they kept putting off getting married. Daddy went out. He stayed out there about 3 months or so, and sent for Mother.
And they were just going out during this time. They weren't
Yeah.
engaged yet.
No, they were, well, I guess, I don't know whether they didn't say anything about it. They were talking marriage, I know
Yeah.
that, but didn't do it. But anyhow, and so they got married the day she got there
Oh.
at Uncle Todd's house. We
Who's
didn't
Uncle
mention
Todd?
Uncle Todd.
Yeah,
up
who's
there.
Uncle Todd?
Yeah, Uncle Todd belongs in there.
What was his name, though? It wasn't Todd. Charles?
Oh, here, Charles Christopher. It says Todd right next to it.
Yeah.
Okay. He's
Yeah.
the one that was married to Bertha.
He was married to Bertha, but
Okay. And
Yeah,
Ida
I
and
think,
Velma. Okay, I see.
no, he was married to Bertha and Ida. But
Okay.
that's the only 2 wives that he ever had, I
Okay.
think. He and Bertha had a son. Oh, Lord, he evidently worshipped Bertha.
So Uncle Todd was in South Dakota, is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they were already there.
Okay.
And Uncle Peach and Aunt Ethel. Now that Dad's brother and mother's sister got married, but they were married.
Oh,
but
I saw
that
that. So
married and-
Ethel was...
they married and had a baby, Delbert.
So you have brothers marrying sisters. Okay.
And but then anyhow, Mother said the first funeral she ever saw was on sleds, right after she got off the train.
Really?
There in Leadville, City, South Dakota.
So
And they
she
were-
got off the train that day. They got married.
They got married,
Okay.
and they boarded a month or two, and then they moved.
And I tell you, when she left Goleta, it was sunshiny and bright and everything.
The 16th of April,
She
they
was
got married.
dressed for her to greet her beau, you know.
So she was all pretty, not very
Yeah, stepped
warm.
off the train into snow foot deep.
Daddy took her right over and bought her some heavy boots, heavy shoes, the first thing he ever bought her.
And here she was dressed like it
Yeah.
was warm weather.
Oh,
All the things were.
that's kind of a romantic story, isn't
I
it?
think so.
What
And-
is
They
it?
were married the 16th of
Yeah.
April?
Did you know? Yeah. James and I were married. on the
I know
16th of
you.
April.
I
You're
talked
the
you
one
into
that
that.
told me,
I got
yeah.
you. She was deciding different dates, and I said, well, then 16th April was one of them. So I said, well, why don't you do it? That's my mother and dad's
Exactly.
anniversary.
Yeah. That's right.
And they were married at Uncle Todd and Aunt Ida's house. I guess
Mhm.
Bertha was Uncle Todd's first wife, but
Yeah.
I guess she was dead by then
Was she?
because they were married.
Was he working the mines?
Oh yeah, honey, the malls all worked in the mines. They all died from it.
Wow.
Stepped up all right.
So having the money didn't mount to that much.
Yeah.
And then Mom and Dad moved over to Cherryville.
Is that in South Dakota also?
That was in South Dakota, just about. They went through a
On the side
tunnel.
of the hill.
What?
On the side of the hill.
Yeah, well, oh yeah, this was mountainous, all that. But Mother and I went, I took Mother back for what would have been their 50th wedding anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is how I happen to know because I'd never been back. But it
Oh,
was,
I see, because you were born in Terryville.
yeah, I was
Okay.
born in Cherryville.
Okay.
But I think I got
Lee,
it.
Lead, South Dakota.
Well, that's where they were married, but I was born in Cherryville.
Yeah, but it's right.
But it's
Right
about a
close.
mile.
Right at the foot of Cherryville.
Okay.
You go a mile through the tunnels. Is the way that I saw the tunnel. Mother wanted to go through that so bad that it's closed up.
Because of the snow and everything?
No, it was summertime. It was
Oh,
back
was
there.
that back in the summertime?
couldn't go out. We
Oh,
went
you're
back
talking
in.
about later. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, when I took her back
Okay.
after 50 years. And then we went to the house where I was born and all, but they wouldn't open the door. They wouldn't answer the door, but we could hear a baby crying.
Yeah. They're probably like, I don't know who those ladies are. I'm not going to open the door.
Well, my neighbor told us that she had a new baby.
Oh.
But that she was real nice. She'd go up there and answer it and showed it. So we did, and they didn't. But anyhow, and then when I was about in April, I was born February 9th, my grandfather had come home and Uncle Todd, they had come back to Kansas. I
Okay.
think they had settled the strike.
The strike
And
was
they all
over.
came back to Kansas where they were born and raised. And so my dad went to his dad's funeral. He died in April in Kansas. And so Mother begged him to wrote him a letter. And my grandma and Aunt Wilma came out when I was born to be with Mother. But they were still there when Daddy went back to Kansas. So somehow they got him to stay and send in the money, and they all came out and went back home.
Oh, okay.
But
So that's how you guys got back to
Yeah.
Kansas.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that's how, but we didn't stay in Galena. We stayed, Mom and Dad moved down to Oklahoma.
I see the first four boys were all born in Commerce, Oklahoma.
You betcha.
So you guys were there for, quite a few years,
Oh,
actually.
yeah, I was
7
12.
years at least.
I was
I
12.
was 10 years old.
Okay, so 1923.
I was 12 when we moved to Joplin.
So you guys moved back to Joplin between George and Glenn. Okay.
You know more about it than we do.
I have paper.
Yeah, papers.
I'm reading papers. Okay. I'm just trying to understand it because you can read this stuff and it doesn't really tell a story like
No,
this does
it-
until you start
It
asking, well, how did you get to South Dakota? How did you get to Oklahoma? Now why are you back in Kansas? And,
took another 3 days on the train to get out there. In
to get out to where?
to South Dakota.
To South Dakota by herself.
1910.
Yeah, 1910, exactly. They were married on the 16th of April, 1910, so. Lead City, Lawrence,
And I
South
suppose it took
Dakota.
them 3 days to get home. I don't
I
know.
would assume.
I think they stayed in Galena a few weeks or something, but they went back to Oklahoma to get there. And, honey, they were all so close together. They called it the
But
tri-state
Dad's
district.
family is from Olathe, Kansas.
Who's that?
Dad's family.
Olathe,
Daddy was
Kansas.
born in Olathe, Kansas. That's
Yeah.
up towards Kansas City.
Because I showed his parents, Charles and Nancy, Charles was born in St. Louis area, and that
Mhm.
Nancy was born in Seligman, Kansas.
Lakeland, well, that's
Lakeland,
Missouri.
Kansas. It says Kansas.
Says, well, maybe it is. I thought it was.
Lakeland, okay, Missouri.
Well, maybe
I'm
I'll
not-
question that.
I'm not sure, honey. I don't know. I've never been there, but I knew
Lakeland,
something about it.
not too far from Johnson.
They
And
went-
we're kind of not sure about her age, because,
I have no earthly idea.
well, there was a...
Wait a minute, honey. I think she was 29 when she died.
Well,
She
that's
had-
what we had written down here. She was 29 in childbirth. I mean, when she died in childbirth. But in other records that I had seen, it looks like she might have been born closer to like 1855. That would have made her 1862. So it was like a 7-year thing. But we were looking at this, and if she was born in 1855, she would have been 25 when
My dad.
when your dad was born. So maybe that's why 29 is sticking in your mind.
Well, she had 3 dads. See, she had the 3rd child younger than Daddy.
Yeah. With Belle
And,
and John.
I'm pretty sure that she was only supposed to only be 29, but how she had that many children that fast, I don't know.
29 years old.
I show that she should have been about
She was
36.
pretty young when they got married, probably.
No, we weren't sure about that one. I think it was in a
Doesn't give
census.
their marriage, yeah.
No, it says she was married in 1876. If she had been if she had been 29 when she died, then that would mean she would be 14 when they got married.
Well, that was pretty young.
I
They
think
could have
the
it.
census that I was looking
Oh,
at,
you worked at it, haven't you?
I
And got
can
the
try
census and
to.
everything.
the census has her only being 2 years younger than Charles, which would mean that she would have been born in 55 to 56, which would have been that she would have been about 35 or 36 when she died.
Well,
That's why I wasn't sure.
and I'm not positive either, but it seemed like Daddy always said that because I've questioned it so many times as I got older. How
Mhm.
did she have 9 children that fast? Of course, one pair of twins.
Mhm. The
It's
first ones
possible.
are
It
twins.
sounds almost impossible.
But like I said, if what the census says is right, then she would have been 29 when your dad was born, and maybe that's why
Maybe
29.
that's what Daddy thought when she was born. That would make better sense
Yeah,
because there's 3 younger than him. so-
yeah, 86, 88. I'm not sure when. 89 and 90.
And remember, he was only 6 years old when she died.
Isn't that sad? That was a whole family. I was thinking about that. Now, here, Charles Lewis Mall has all these kids to raise. The oldest one, if he was only 6, the oldest one would have been about 13,
Yeah, and Belle was 13.
and have 9 kids, well 8 kids. To be a widow and to have 8 kids, the oldest 13.
And the funny
youngest
thing,
is just
that
4.
Gideus and his wife, not a Gideus, yeah,
There
Gideus.
was a pair of twins there, wasn't
Yeah, Uncle Jack and Belle were
there? Belle,
twins.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's 2.
The first 2 were twins, but the rest of them were all. Of course, the 2 babies that died at birth, I don't know whether they were full-time, that it could have been, it's possible, but it's kind of improbable.
Yeah.
So what was I going to say? Oh, Grandma Mall, great-grandma Mall, took Uncle Hank to raise. Now, why would she pick him and not the baby, which was Uncle Pete, your daddy?
Great grandmama being Barbara Hunt. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah,
She took the 4-year-old,
yeah. And she,
but not Uncle Pete. You're right.
uh-huh, and I often wondered about that.
Well, he would have only been 2. Maybe she couldn't handle
Well,
a
that's
2-year-old.
right. She probably didn't have a facility.
Well, for a 2-year-old, it's
Oh,
awful young.
I think they had pretty nice homes there, honey. I've seen them.
Well, I'm just thinking more. A 2-year-old's needs are a little bit different
It'd be
than a
hard for
4-year-old's.
grandmother to raise, yeah. I don't, but she did. But then Grandpa didn't wait too long to get married again. And oh, how they all hated their
Molly
stepmother.
Baxter.
Mhm.
Nobody liked Molly, huh?
Nobody. And, for her, when she died, Aunt Belle bought a red dress.
Went to her funeral in a red dress.
And Uncle Peach bought they called them ice cream suits, a white suit, where
They must have not liked her.
they hated her guts.
What was her name?
They always told me she was young, but I saw her grave somewhere, and she was about 40 when they got married, so she wasn't a real young girl or anything.
How old was he?
Well, one of the first things she did, the first time she got mad at my grandpa, she took a razor, and then they had a big long
The razor straps.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Not the strap, the razor, the
Oh,
big
the
long.
actual
Yeah, that
straight
they
razor, okay.
like Daddy used to use. and cut up every piece of furniture that my grandmother had had.
Oh my
Cut 'em all to
goodness.
pieces. That was the first thing they hated her for. so much.
Vengeful.
And
They didn't have any kids though. Well, she was older, like you
No,
said.
she
She was
was older.
40.
but Daddy couldn't remember anything too bad she did to him, really, but he just hated her because they started that.
They started out hating her and they just left.
Yeah, they just did. I don't know.
Did he wait very long before he got married?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they probably were still mourning, their mom had just died.
Well, sure that.
Yeah.
Well, honey, your dad hated. I might have stayed married to Jim
He
if your
said
dad
that.
hadn't have hated him.
I think they're just, it's hard to share a parent.
Well, sure,
I think,
you
you're
know
a kid.
that little devil. I should have made David be better.
Oh,
I should have, but
I think about that about Scott sometimes. I should have
Huh?
made Scott be better.
well,
Kidding, I would see you're listening.
I think Grandma was married and had David and Uncle Rick, and your Grandpa David, and I was only 28 when he was killed.
Well, my dad's dad was died in Bakersfield.
And mother, and David was 6, and he remembered his dad real well. Richard didn't, of course, and he was just 13 months old. But then I married later, 4 years later, I married a friend of Earl's, Jim. And he was a pretty nice guy, he really was, but I don't know. But your grandpa didn't like it. Jim wanted them to call him Daddy so bad, and they wouldn't do it. I mean, David wouldn't do it. I didn't make him have to. No, I'm not going to make him call you Daddy.
And I agree with
I
you.
could have, but I could have done a lot of things to make that marriage better. And he didn't want Jim to play Earl's radio.
Oh, yeah.
That's my daddy's radio. That's my dad's radio. You can't play it, he'd tell me. And it just made it for bad. So 2 years I was divorced. That's what I was doing in Las Vegas in 45, getting a divorce from Jim. But it's hard for kids and step. Now David, Rick liked Jim. He was pretty good to the kid.
He was younger. He didn't
He
have
didn't
as many
remember his
memories.
daddy at all.
Yeah.
He had no-
He doesn't remember? Oh, well, he was awful young.
He was 13 months and he didn't know a thing about it.
Well, okay, back to you guys growing up, though.
Okay, what we remember. Well, we grew up in Oklahoma.
Mostly, it looks like you guys really grew
Yeah.
up in Oklahoma. Now, where is... Oh,
Well,
no.
we didn't grow up in Oklahoma. We grew
Well, we got to be 10 and 12 and
Half the time Oklahoma, half the time up in Kansas area? Or Joplin, Missouri? you mean?
Joplin. We never moved to Kansas ever.
But what was it like having... what would you guys do for games and that kind of stuff? How would you guys keep yourselves entertained, or did you
Oh,
just
good
work all
heavens,
the
honey. We
time?
didn't have any trouble, did we?
No, we played.
Oh, my dad wanted us to be
Outside
entertained.
Outside games?
Yeah.
Did you live on a farm or in town?
Wherever we were.
Well, we lived when I was
Played
6 years old.
go and hide and seek. Go outside games.
Daddy made us a teeter
Run, shoot,
totter,
run.
Oh.
and they had swings, and I don't know what you wouldn't know probably at all, but a screen jacket. You know what a screen jacket is? It's something they have in the mines. It's about that big around. Oh no, it's bigger, probably big around as this table would be, almost.
I don't
No, it
know
wasn't quite
that.
that big, wasn't that long, but big, about like this all the way around.
What'd you do?
It had holes in it. It was heavy, but metal.
Metal.
What they had is they had
Oh,
covered.
that would run and slide through.
Thank you, Scott.
That's very thoughtful. Go ahead, Louis.
To do slide?
But we'd roll in that darn screen.
Oh, like I guess it'd be like a hamster ball. Though. You guys ever seen a hamster ball? They get inside the ball and they roll all over the place. It'd be the same type of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
Like that.
They did it.
It would separate the
always
good
wanted
from the
to
bad, you know. Yeah. When they use it in the mill, not in the ground.
Yeah, they put it around something.
Yeah,
around the
and
barrel.
water goes in there and washes
Yeah,
it.
Daddy got it.
Gosh.
The gravel comes out and other stuff stays. And, hell, I don't know what's going on.
But when we were 6, we moved out. We lived right in Commerce, where Louis was born. Well, they were all
They're all
born
born in Commerce. It's
but
like-
right uptown.
Okay.
But Daddy bought this acre of land down on the farms, cut up their farm, and we all bought acreage down there. So that's where we lived from the time I was
On the acre.
from 6 to 12. But we lived down there about 6 years on the lake. Only one.
Hell, don't ask me. I couldn't remember that.
Well, I do, but of course
Well,
during,
you were a little bit younger, though. Yeah, I remember that, too.
during the First World War, we went up to Joplin and lived with my Grandma Love while Daddy went to the shipyard.
I remember
So he went to the shipyard so he wouldn't have to go to war.
Oh.
Fort News. Newport News, Virginia is where he went.
Uh-huh.
And why was that a choice to go to the shipyards instead of
Well,
war?
Well, instead of working in the mines.
No,
Because-
honey, that time it was to keep from going to war.
Huh?
I remember that really distinctly. Keeping from going to war. Not
I
that
know,
that
well,
didn't hit the
that's
mines.
after he quit the mines, but
Well, he always was trying to quit the mines too.
So he quit the mines and went to work in the shipyards, and then because he was at the
in
shipyards,
1919, was it 1919 or 1918?
Must have been 18.
Well,
But Pete
anyhow,
was born in 1919.
Yeah, I
His
know.
mother was pregnant.
January, January 19. Anyhow, we got up. He always went to work about 4:30 in the morning, and I'd get up and have breakfast with him. And we were sitting there, and he was coughing, and of course he was on the edge of
the tuberculosis.
tuberculosis then. Okay. And he said, that goddamn mind is killing me. And he said, just for 2 cents, I'd quit. Now, this is in the dead of winter. And Mom said, well, why don't you, honey? He said, by God, I believe I will. Just like that. He went and told me he's quitting. We lived on split beans and raisin oatmeal. Oh, yeah.
See, I don't remember what he remembers so well, but I don't remember that at all.
Oh, yeah.
Make an impression on me at all.
And we went out and cut wood. And
I know
don't
I
if
had
we
a lot of
sold
fun.
it, or if we cut it for our own selves or what. But
Well,
we
I tell you,
survived.
most of it, Louis, he cut it for the Gordons.
And then he got a job on top of the mine, working in the mill.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
And this is all in Oklahoma still.
yeah.
And during the war, Mama and I went over to
That
Grandma's.
was in 1919.
Pete was born 1919.
Well, then that was 1918, and I was only 5 years old.
Yeah, I said you were awfully young. Do you remember that?
I always got up and had breakfast with him.
4:30 in the morning. That's pretty impressive. A little 5-year-old getting up at 4:30 in the morning to have breakfast with his daddy.
And he'd have it.
And he-
He'd have an old dinner bucket.
Yep.
We'd have a biscuit in it.
That would be all there be.
Hmm?
Oh,
Is
no.
that what you mean?
No, but he'd take the dinner bucket, honey, and Mother put an extra bucket or something, so he'd have something in the bucket when he came home. She
Oh, I
takes his
see.
lunch.
Okay.
And us kids would eat.
Yeah, so, we'd want that dinner bucket no matter what Daddy had in it, so Mother put that extra in it. But she baked pies and things, Louis, I know, and for his lunch, just breakfast and all.
What kind of a sense of humor did your dad have? I mean,
Great.
What kind of a guy? I figured
Absolutely
he must have
greatest
been.
guy in the world.
He had the
was.
greatest temper in the world, too.
Yes, he had. Pepper,
Okay.
and he showed it.
Yeah,
But-
that's where we get, do the honest thing,
I'm
you know.
telling you.
If you're mad at anybody, let them know it.
That nobody had more than we had when we were absolutely poor as church mice.
Yeah.
But we had more love than anybody.
Yeah, oh, I
can
think
see
that.
That's
Oh,
so
we did.
evident. That's why I was wondering what kind of a. I mean, I remember Grandma Ma.
Oh,
but,
he was great. He'd get out and turn flip-flops out in the backyard and everything else.
Quite a gymnast.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. Well, no, Hazel.
He was quite a
Before he
gymnast.
died, he was 47 and
Oh, well, I
48.
don't know, but I wasn't good at the home then.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'd see him stand out there and turn a flip over.
Really?
Yeah.
Was
But he could make
Was he built like more like you were built,
no,
or was
no,
he?
he built like Pete.
more like Pete, heavy.
He
set.
was 5'7.5", so he had 189 pounds when he got
He's
sick.
got James's
He got
size
sick,
then.
5'7.5", and when he got sick and when he died, he weighed about 89 pounds.
Oh
He
my.
lost just about 100 pounds from the time we went to Phoenix in November 32 until September of 33.
When he went back to die in Kansas.
That's why he wanted to go home back to
Oh
Southland.
And I
my
was
goodness.
standing right at the foot of his bed when he died. And he in the living room is where it was. And he had the cot in there. And he was coughing real hard. They called me up from the mechanic factory. And I don't know how to
Scotty?
do with the phone.
Well, let me get it.
James will get it. Just answer mall residence
What year was that? What year was that?
30.
Small residence?
33.
4, yeah, 33.
33.
Yeah, hang on a second. Lady.
Probably true.
Hello? Yes?
What did you say? What
Okay.
year was that?
What year was it that he died? You're a
He
great
died in
lady.
33.
32. How much we're taking?
Oh, we got another take too, so I'm not worried about it. This is
You want
just-
more ice cream, honey? Go get it.
No, I won't.
You want to stop it? We were talking about, where were we at? We were talking about you were standing at the foot of the bed. You were at the cannon.
Oh, I was standing
That's
at the
when
You
foot
Daddy
of
said
the
the foot of
died.
the bed was-
On that
They
day.
called me.
Yeah.
They called me from the canning factory. And when I got there, he was coughing real hard. And so I was there about 5 minutes, and he said, he was sitting up. And he said, lay me down, honey, and let me die.
Mm.
And she did.
They had the foot, the
bed
cot
cot
there.
And he died just within 5 minutes.
Wow.
I was standing there looking at him when he died.
I think everybody was standing there looking at him.
Wow, no, but, no, I don't think so. I lost my train of thought.
So he knew though.
Oh,
he
yeah.
knew it. I mean,
Yeah,
he
about
knew
a
it.
month before, he had coughed up a piece of lead about the size of a bullet.
It was a week before, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness.
Just about a month before.
I mean, that's
And he
what
got
killed him.
better.
They breathed that lead.
But I didn't realize that
He
it
got
would.
better when after he
Got
coughed
rid of
it
it.
up.
Mhm.
But then, that day, he wasn't strong enough to survive. He lost about 90 or about 100 pounds in a year's time,
Wow.
less than a year.
I think that was hard on your mom, you know, watching him go through that.
I've
too.
seen young guys, like 22, 24, 25 years old in commerce
Mhm.
when I was a kid. Now, I was just a kid, but I do remember it. And they'd have 2 or 3 little kids running around the house. And today they weigh 190, 100, 200 pounds. Next year they're dead, they weigh about 100 pounds.
And it's
You
from
cut
that
the
money.
lungs to death.
Now that's black lung.